Wake up, Toronto, and happy Thursday. It's extra special today as we're officially in spring as of Tuesday, March the 20th. So does it feel any different? I mean, weather-wise? Wasn't it just a couple weeks ago, actually, we had that intense blizzard? So it's really hard to know if Toronto won't be gifted the pleasure of more winter weather. But I have to say, today looks like it's a bit of a start to Mother Nature being kind. Although a tad rainy and dark clouds throughout the day are expected, we're hitting double digits, 13 degrees to be exact, and it is the highest we've had in a while. I can't say you can 100% store your winter jackets away, but I do know you won't be needing them today. Perhaps you can reach for that spring jacket or sweater out of your closet, and it might be a good idea to keep an umbrella on standby. Other than that, I encourage you all to head on outside, get those steps in, some fresh air, and if you're commuting to work, maybe rock some cute pastel colors like light green, blues, pinks, and purples, getting that Easter vibes as well in the picture. And for me, it's all about the clocks, and here's why. Ever since the clocks went forward an hour and we're out of daylight savings, and I know a lot of people who hate that whole idea, of turning the clocks backwards in October, November, and forwarding it back in March, and because of that change, it makes them feel groggy, and the kids as well, as they're getting ready to go to school. I'm 100% in agreement to that. It is horrible and definite adjustment for everyone. And then the first day for me looks like this. It's quite the transition because I'm used to waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning. So when I look at the time and it's 6, I'm like, damn, I need to practice to get my body used to that change. On a side note, some people are dependent on alarm clocks to wake them up, maybe several if you're prone to hitting snooze. My husband is one of them. He has like an alarm clock for every day of the week, even on weekends. And it's super annoying because he has to keep snoozing it. And I have to turn to him and be like, can you not? Is what I have to tell him. And I let him know that myself and even the house, if it were alive, knows that he sleeps in on weekends. Do us all a favor and set it to a later time to wake up. But also, I offered to do that for him since I work the weekend, so I'm up long before he is. But guys, the man doesn't seem to listen. That's the story of my life. Anyway, back to what I was saying about the need of an alarm clock to wake you up. Basically, I don't need one. In fact, my body somehow knows, and 95% of the time, I'll wake up either exactly at 5 o'clock or 4:55 or 5:05, give and take a few minutes. It's like my internal clock is a beast and it is aware. But I think the difficult part is when the clock moves forward 1 hour or backwards. It takes a couple of days for my body to listen and adjust, and then it becomes easier. But the time change is the least of my issues. I think the more annoying part, for me at least, and I gotta know who else relates, but when some of the appliances or analog clocks, those are the ones that don't automatically change when the time does. So I have to go into every room to change them all. Like our stove and microwave, reading lights. I'm pretty sure I got to them all, but I probably have to go back and double check. Now, speaking of spring, another thing I noticed is the winter blues for me is slowly fading away. Ever since I think the second week of March, I have more energy to do things. Besides my regular chore schedule, I managed to get spring cleaning completed and checked off my list, including my walk-in closet. It was such a disaster and so much work. You know the show Hoarders, right? Now, before you jump to conclusions and judge, I'm not on that scale. I'm more of a temporary hoarder. So with clothes, instead of, I think you give it the 3-month mark where if you haven't worn something from that season, you kind of part ways. I tend to give it 2 years. And if I haven't worn it at least twice, in that year, I'll give it away. But believe me when I say I have a lot of clothes that I even forget sometimes that they're tucked away and they have tags on them. So unless I'm going through each and every piece of clothing in my closet, I'll never know. So this year, I managed to clear out a lot of the clothes and accessories that I haven't worn in super long time. And some were brand new and maybe I wore a couple times too. But I usually tend to donate them all. I don't toss them away. I know that since they're in excellent condition, somebody will enjoy it more than me. You could say my greatest weakness is shopping for clothes specifically. And in hindsight, like going to the mall or even working in the mall back then, I had a retail job for many, many years. That was one thing, you would shop within your budget. You wouldn't want to blow your whole paycheck off on clothes. But now online shopping is on some next level. It's heightened and it's an itch to buy constantly and consume. That's the world we live in. Every day there's innovative items that come out on the market and you just want to have it all. Now, I swear I'm not addicted. It's not like I have Amazon packages on my front doorstep as often anymore. And, I'd rather spend birthday money on clothes every once in a while and splurge a little. But it's also like if I add to my wardrobe, I have to take things away. So that's like one of my rules when buying clothes. So let's kind of bring it back to what I was saying earlier about having more energy to get chores done around my house lately. And it's hard to explain why that is, but I was rather impressed with myself. Like I wasn't procrastinating or dreading the work at all. I mean, like once I'm in the zone with anything that I do, it's like I have to make sure I get it finished. Or if it's like a bigger project, I'll create like multiple time slots either within the week or over the course of the weeks to complete it. I swear, guys, time management makes a huge difference. At first, it may look like a lot of work all at once, but when you split it up and you manage to complete it, that feeling alone is amazing. So my walk-in closet is clean. I'm going to pat myself on the back here. So is my office space as well, including the inside of my desk drawers, and my makeup vanity is also organized to a T. I even went as far as to wipe the inside and outside of the drawers and all my shelving units so it's like smelling lemony fresh. Even washed my makeup brushes on top of all the other household chores I had to do for the week, and cooking and groceries. Legit adulting over here. And then there's content curating as well. I spent a few days on. Like, definitely I feel superhero vibes, but I feel like when you're an adult, there's always something to do at home, which I also kind of love to keep myself busy. And I do admit to this, I set timers for everything so I can switch in between tasks because I tend to get immersed in something and that has all of my focus, like tunnel vision. But when I was younger, and this is a really, really important, interesting, hopefully inspiring story, but there was a piece of advice that one of my teachers said, and in terms of good study habits, or it could be applied to any activity in life, come to think of it, is to break it up into sections. So 30 minutes on something, you can spend your time on that and then switch over to another thing. What happens is it keeps your mind fresh and less tired. And I think that stuck with me, ever since. And that's one of the tips I'm giving out to you all today. I stand by it and it works. Okay, so a random thought just popped into my head. Remember when I told you guys earlier on in the show that I don't need an alarm clock to wake me up? Now, to come to think of it, I need one to remind me to move on to a different task. That's pretty interesting, bit of information. And I learned something new about myself today. And seeing that we're on the topic of chores, there is one that for some reason since the start of winter, and I doubt it to be a seasonal thing, but I can't seem to get into the mode to fold laundry. Like, I'm happy to throw it into the washer and dryer. It's kind of therapeutic for me. But when the time arrives, it kind of feels like a pop quiz. You expect it, but your reaction is the same every damn time. It's like you'd rather not do it. This situation is very much similar. So either some other important work comes up out of the blue and leaves me distracted, or I just avoid it at all costs and make myself do something else, not realizing I'm ignoring it on purpose until my husband points it out and he's like, hey, I'm getting late for work. I can't seem to find my other sock to this pair under this huge pile of clothes. So that's when I muster up the courage to go on this mission of folding. But seriously, you guys, sometimes a few weeks go by and the pile sits there, often growing small from taking clothes to wear, or a huge pile grows after doing the laundry. And seriously, I thought about it a few times and responded to my husband like, hey, these are the same clothes we wear every week. What's the point of folding them if we're just going to wash and wear it again? Like, cut that middle chore out. He was totally not having it and didn't appreciate my idea of scavenging for the clothes as a game. So that wasn't an option for him. And so I really needed to bite the bullet and change this habit. To be honest, it does bother me to look at the pile because in my house, like, I'm a neat and clean freak and in most facets of my life. So what I do is I tend to close that room door where the pile of clothes are, and it's out of sight and out of mind. But also, some people, like my mom, they fold the clothes while watching TV on the couch in the living room or anywhere where they can listen to music or watch TV. And in no time, that chore is done. But for me, as soon as the clothes are dried, they're put in the laundry basket and brought upstairs and dumped into the room. And there's no TV or anything in there. So folding in silence on the floor is no fun at all. I could try music. That might be an option. I don't know. I'm open to suggestions. Like, leave your comments in the discussion below and let me know, what do you do to overcome the sheer laziness of not folding your laundry? What's going on in the world this week? If you haven't seen videos online or in the news, but the retailer Zellers is coming back to Toronto and has quite a few locations open in the city and across Canada this year. Man, growing up, Zellers was my jam. Long before Walmarts took over everywhere, Zellers was the place to be. And most of my clothes, as far back as I can remember, were from there. And I also had, for the longest time, Zeddy the stuffed bear on my bed. And I don't know how I got it. I must have been super, super young, maybe like 3 or 4. And I can't wait to actually go and live that nostalgia and visit the stores. I'll probably go by the Scarborough Town Center location and maybe make an outing out of it with my parents. That would be pretty neat. The retail chain opened in 1931, and it's definitely known for its low-priced goods. And if you remember, if you were in that time when it was announced that the stores would be closing all its location, it was spring of 2013, I believe. So think about it. 10 years later, Zellers is making a comeback, and it won't be exactly the way you remember. This is what representatives are saying. Zellers won't have its own storefront, but it'll have its own section in the retail space within Hudson-based stores. And believe it or not, due to popular demand, the retail chain will also be rolling out Zeller diner food trucks in Ontario, I believe, and Alberta at certain select locations, and it will only be available for one day. Only one day. The menu items include the Big Z burger, chicken fingers, hot chicken sandwich, fries and gravy, and grilled cheese sandwich. So let's hope the Zeller's food truck actually sticks around longer and everyone gets to have their chance to try this delicious food. And if it's a big hit, it will be around forever, like a regular kind of thing. So here are the locations where you can expect your Zeller's stores. Erin Mills Town Center in Mississauga, Burlington Mall in Burlington, White Oaks Mall in London, Scarborough Town Centre in Scarborough, Penn Centre Shopping Plaza in St. Catharines, Cambridge Centre in Cambridge, Rideau Centre in Ottawa, and Saint Laurent Centre in Ottawa as well. So they have two. I think there was one more. I forgot which mall it was in, but it's in Kingston, I believe. So let's get into the not so good news today, because this is like giving some positive, exciting things to look forward to. But this next story is going to make you squirm a little. I've been feeling that way as well after reading about it this morning, and now I have to talk about it. So a Canadian city has just been named the worst in the country for bed bugs for the third year in a row. Orkin Canada, they're a pest and wildlife control service organization, and they said that Toronto was the city in which it carried out the highest number of commercial and bed bug treatments in 2022. Take that in for a second. A moment of silence, if you will. Like what? Wow. After Toronto, the second on the list is Vancouver, British Columbia. And then third is Sudbury, Ontario. London, Ontario didn't make the list in 2021, but it's now on it. It's sitting at the 8th spot of the top 10 buggiest cities in the country of 2022. Holy crap. I'm getting shivers because, bed bugs. Ontario dominated also the top 10 list with a total of 8 cities across the province that were bed bug ridden, including Oshawa, Ottawa, Scarborough, London, and Hamilton. Like what? I'm at a loss of words because my parents live in Scarborough. I'm out here in Oshawa. I've lived in Vancouver, BC most of my life. So there's no way out. It's like the zombie apocalypse, but for bugs. Crazy. Now I'm really self-conscious of where I should go. Maybe stay confined to my house. I think years ago too, when I was in university, there was a similar case study done which said there was a bed bug problem on the TTC. And guess what? I had to take the train down from Scarborough every single day for school. And so I opted into standing up the whole way through, which was about an hour or so of a journey, because I was just super scared. You just never know when those bugs can sneak into your coat or bag, into your hair or whatever, and come home with you. It's just unpredictable. And they reproduce so fast. Like in no time, you'll have an infestation. So from all the stories that I've heard, it really is a nightmare to get rid of them. And plus, they steal your blood. That's another thing. They're legit parasites, right? If mosquitoes and lice weren't enough, God was like, let's do one more. Three's a charm. Bed bugs it is. I don't know, I'm just making all of that up. Let's hope next year Toronto moves down the list. And I'm through with talking about this topic, so let's move on. David Schwimmer. This is a really good story, who many of us recognize as Ross the paleontologist, who was on a break with Rachel from the 90s popular sitcom Friends, was on the show The Great British Bake Off. So let me tell you, it was so fun to see him cook and just be himself. And he received loads of positive comments from viewers, but also he did quite well with the judges. My favorite part was how fantastic of a dad he is in real life. So his daughter practices being a vegan and he tries to cater to her dietary restrictions and chooses to make a tofu pot pie recipe. That sounds absolutely delicious, but also my heart. It was a beautiful moment, and seeing him light up as well when he spoke about his daughter was everything. Here are some clips from his appearance on the show.
Oh, the dough came out a little thinner than usual.
You can re-roll, but...
Nah, then I'll never get it done.
Why don't you, look, I'll do it for you. You just make them a little bit more even. Okay.
Okay, here we go.
Bakers, you have half an hour left.
Oh, hello.
Hey, good job.
Were you competitive at school, Dave?
Oh, yeah, but you're a competitive person, no?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, a lot of actors and performers kind of have to be.
Yeah, of course, because you're going for roles, you want to...
Yeah, it's like a dogfight.
Yeah. But also, we're used to failure, right? We used to not get auditions.
Well, you are. I'm...
Have you done a whole pie? Have you got the bottoms and tops?
Are you delaying me setting my timer?
Yeah.
That was good strategy. Well played, Tom. Well played.
When I first looked at that, I thought it needs more sauce because, everything's very separate. But actually, it is so moist and so delicious.
That, my friend,
No.
There you are.
honestly,
Oh, come on.
I've never had tofu that I've enjoyed before.
Wow.
That is a fantastic pie.
Made my year. Thank you. Thanks so much. I'm really chuffed, as you guys say. I can't wait to tell my daughter.
It's movie time. So last weekend, my husband and I saw 2 movies, both of which I picked. And I remember in a previous Wake Up Toronto show, I was gloating about how I have a pretty good sense of what will be a great film because of holding a degree in film studies. But also, I gave you guys some tips on how you could too choose the perfect film. And I guess I spoke too soon, and the universe was like, here, girl, you're going to be wrong for once. So after many, many years, I finally lost my streak. Ugh, it was brutal. The feeling was kind of similar to when those Gen Zs on Snapchat, when they lose their streak. It hurts so bad, doesn't it? Anyway, Friday's Flicks was called Blank, and that was released in 2022. Basically, in the news lately, AI has been huge. And then ChatGPT, my goodness, the way it's going, every kind of software out there is trying to release their version. And it's growing day by day, so tech is definitely taking over. And the movie Megan, we had like a brand new killer, which involved robotics. And so that was a good movie. Basing my experience with that film, I was like, ooh, Blank might be kind of like a similar premise. And I thought, hey, it might be a shot to take a look at. And my husband, who also is part of the IT world, was intrigued. Anything that's like automated definitely gets his, undivided attention. And the basic synopsis of the movie is a woman checks in to an AI-operated writer's retreat. Her name is Claire, and she finds herself trapped in her unit with a malfunctioning android. And so the captor becomes increasingly unstable, and so she has to work against the clock to outsmart the technology and make it out alive. So it does become human versus machine kind of a film, and there of course are flashbacks to link everything together. I think overall the storyline was great, but it could have been awesome. I mean, it was very slow in terms of being dragged out to fill the 1.5 hour timeline. And to be honest, if it were any longer, I wouldn't have watched it all the way through. I mean, it's one of those movies that, let's say you have nothing to do on a Friday or Saturday night and you're also multitasking, to put it on in the background and you won't miss a beat. Just listen to it. There's a storyline within that. And am I being too harsh? Like, it's really the first time I'm not recommending you watch this movie. Like, usually I'm like, 2 thumbs up, go for it, 10 out of 10. But not this one. So I'm just being honest. And although the acting and special effects were excellent. The other movie we watched was called Sick, which was also released in 2022. And again, it's like the same thing with AI because it's so much more in the mainstream media right now. This movie, Sick, also hit home because it was one of our realities due to the pandemic we had since the COVID good old days. And the accuracy the movie portrayed at the time in terms of protocols that were being taken in stores with mask mandates and isolations, etc., made those memories flood back immediately. And so the premise of the film is, while a girl is quarantining at her family's lake house during the pandemic, Parker, which is her name, and her best friend are threatened by an unexpected visitor. So it is like a slasher film and pretty gory at that. And the typical tropes in movies of this genre are definitely present. However, it does deviate the plot a bit, making it refreshing and unique, kind of a slasher film. And I gotta admit, I figured it out halfway through, but in the beginning, definitely my predictions were so wrong, so off. And I do give it a 10 out of 10. It's a must-see. So if you're feeling like you have that strength to go back in time to a not so good day where the pandemic existed and there was so much uncertainty and anxiety and all that bullish going on, then challenge yourself and take a look. It might be less heightened emotionally, but it's interesting to see that we've overcome that time. So, ladies and gentlemen, this wraps up this week's show. Have a fantastic weekend. Stay safe, and I'll see you back here next week. Much love from me to you. Mwah. Suzanna, out.